probably not, but
Okay.
it'll be fine.
All
Yeah.
right.
All right, we got about 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with the fantastic Mr. Aaron Zommers on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 12 noon on this TGI Friday edition of the Allbaugh Show, March 7th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Mr. Zommers, welcome in. We are here at the world headquarters in downtown Madison, where it looks like a snow globe. It's beautiful out right there now. How about that? Well, you want to take a look at the street cam out there?
If I can figure it out. There we go.
For those watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, on the old stream there, things are a little frozen. Zommer's face is right now frozen on the... Oh, there we go. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful out there. Delivery truck right in front of the Overture Center. Cars going by. Lots of people in town today for the state hockey tournament. Among them, our very own Chad Holmes, great broadcaster from WXCO in Wausau, as the girls team is in town for that. And so all kinds of great things going on. We will talk about that a little bit later in terms of state high school sports with our guest at the bottom of the hour, as we do every other Friday, Mr. Brady Ewing, three-time Big Ten champion with the Wisconsin Badgers and also 3 years in the NFL as a fullback. We'll talk a little bit about high school sports, state tournament time of the year, also the draft coming up. Brady went through some of that. We'll talk about preparations for the draft, and also been a couple of great stories this week on Wisconsin men's basketball. Former player, now assistant coach Greg Steemsma, had a very, very honest article there, a column that he wrote on mental health and going through that as an athlete and how he is helping current Badgers get through things like that. And also Max Klesman, one of the current players on the Wisconsin Badgers. A great story via the Big Ten Network, again, partly on his mental health, why he kind of stepped away and just traveled for a while and to get his mind kind of around himself, not just the game, but around his own health and mental health. And Brady and I will discuss that and much more coming up at the bottom of the hour. Hour two, what's worse today, a subject that I know a lot about, being late or being early. We'll discuss that. Zommers is in with a board game of the week. And our old friend Scott Klug, one of my former bosses, is in as a political orphan these days, talking a little bit about voting and maybe what the legislature in Madison should do to get their act in gear. So he will. It's a new thing we're going to start doing every Friday. Klug has it's about a 2-minute commentary and his take. Klug's take. So we'll have that in hour number 2 as well. So big show today, Zommers. Are you ready? Are you set?
Let's go.
All right, very good. Let's do that. Glad to have you along here on a Friday. We have a guest in studio today, which we are always very happy to do. His name is Tim Gordon. He is with Building Unity Wisconsin. Says moving Wisconsin forward together, a great pro-democracy organization. Tim, good afternoon and welcome into the studio.
Hey, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. I know this kind of got late, and I appreciate your flexibility. And you rode down in the little bit of the snow here on your bike. It looks like coming in, and it looks like Frosty the Snowman. We appreciate you getting here.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Tim. Are you from the Madison area? And then tell us a little bit about Building Unity across Wisconsin.
Sure. Well, I myself moved here to go to school back when I was about 20 years old, and fell in love with the city and have pretty much stayed ever since. So yeah, I've raised some kids here and worked in the Madison schools for a while as a teacher. Left for a short bit to pursue a short-term stint as a dairy farmer. That didn't last
Did you
too long.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
Where at?
Well, out near Blue Mounds, I was
Sure.
farming goats
Okay.
or raising goats
Okay.
for milk. Yeah.
Wow. That's you've done it all then.
I've done a few things. I've also been a nurse, and that was my last career in Madison for well, I should say, my last career till I decided to take up my last career, which is to be a social justice activist.
Oh, that's amazing. So, if I may ask, where did you grow up at? Where are you from originally?
Milwaukee area mostly.
Oh, okay. So you're from a
Yeah,
Wisconsin
I'm a
guy.
Wisconsinite.
But I think it's so fascinating because there was a time in this country where, people either went to school or they didn't, and then they had a career for 30 years and got a gold watch or retired, and that's it. But I think your journey is indicative of so many people in Wisconsin where we do something for a while and we move on. We do something else for a while, and it's a great state, I think, that offers people an opportunity to explore those things.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And University of Wisconsin alum.
Yes.
All right, look, see, we got badgers everywhere. I love that. It's fantastic. So talk to us a little bit, Tim, about this. As you said, your maybe who knows what your final journey is going to be, but at least the current journey that you're on with building unity. How did you get involved?
Well, building unity is kind of something that I reached out to some friends, like our friend in common, Charlie Uphoff, and others, saying, with the awareness that the progressive movement was really divided. There's just a ton of different groups, all pursuing their own little niche, and some of them pursuing the same niche in different ways. And it just seemed to me that we needed to get united as a people's front for peace, sustainability, democracy, and all forms of social justice. And so that's what we're trying to do.
I love this because, as we've navigated the last month and a half or so, it's fast and furious to understate it dramatically. But we get calls from listeners, folks, all the time that say, well, what can I do about it? I feel helpless. I don't tune into the news because it's overwhelming. And to me, here's a group of people getting together and saying, well, let's do something about this. Let's connect with one another beyond our screens and with our phones, and let's connect in real life. So I think that's great. Was there an impetus for this? Was there a particular group or how did you all meet, the founders of this organization?
Well, mostly I just reached out to folks. Once I had the idea, I reached out to people and said, let's get together. And then we started meeting in somebody's living room. And before you know it, we had, Charlie loved the idea. Charlie's very much a unity builder. And he really made a big difference because what he did is in 2019, as we were preparing for the 2020 elections, which of course were big deal for all of us. And I want to just say at the start, we're a nonpartisan project. We work with a lot of 501c3s. And so we don't endorse any party or candidates, but we do endorse issues. Like I said,
Sure.
The issues that fall under peace, justice, sustainability, or democracy. So anyways, Charlie took his own money, purchased a old 34-foot motorhome. And over the years, we've been painting it and putting banners on it and showing up around the state for all kinds of causes, from gun rights, or I should say, rational gun laws, gun reform, to immigrant rights, to the climate crisis that we're in, reproductive freedom, everything. We want to build a movement in this vehicle. The Unity Mobile is what we've been taking these tours around the state, and we're preparing to launch one tomorrow on Women's Day.
I think this is great because I'm a big favor of mobiles, whether it's the Wienermobile. Of course, Oscar Mayer isn't quite as Wisconsin as it used to be, but I'm still a fan of the Wienermobile. LL Bean has the Bootmobile they go around. I think Culver's has a vehicle. So I think these are great because it's a moving billboard and it offers people some visibility of your organization. And what I love about it is that something we're very fond on this show is going out into communities. And we did a tour. I just wrote a column about it. It's coming out today, I think, on Civic Media. We went to over 25 different cities, villages, and towns across Wisconsin last year. And now you're about to go on one of these tours. Tell us what the tour is called and where it's kicking off tomorrow, please.
Sure. The tour is called the March to Election Day Tour. And anyone who's really paying attention, and maybe some of us that aren't, realize that the April 1st election is going to be very big for the Supreme Court. A lot hangs in the balance. We've finally gotten fair maps in Wisconsin. There's a little bit of a reprieve on reproductive freedom in Wisconsin, and I think if we don't make sure we turn out the vote, those things could be gone very quickly. So this election is real important. We're also wanting to get organized because we see that at the federal level, our democracy is crumbling, and oligarchy has taken a real strong hold in America. And we think it's time for workers and all people, working people, but people from all walks of life to come together in unity and really strengthen our democracy. Get involved.
I love the fact that it's, officially it's a nonpartisan organization, a 501c3. I mean, I was a Republican for a long time until I left the party in 2011. And I think there's a lot of folks who, my former boss does this commentary in hour two. He calls himself a political orphan these days. My other former boss, Dale Schultz, former state senator, I mean, I think he feels a little political orphan these days. And so I think groups like this that can say, look, we don't care whether you're a current or a former Republican or a current Democrat, or you consider yourself a progressive, whatever it is, democracy should be something, I think, Tim, that we should all be concerned about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's happening now is really, many are calling it fascism, and I'm not sure they're not right. It's really frightening what's happening in our country, and I think it's time for us, we the people, to make sure that we're bringing our humanity to our political work, and there's just no reason for all of the cruelty that's happening. Just cutting thousands of jobs that are going to cost lives is unconscionable.
Yeah. We're talking to Tim Gordon from Building Unity, Wisconsin here in our studios. Happy to have him along, kicking off this big tour tomorrow here in Madison across the state. You can find out all the information by going to buildingunitywisconsin.org. Building Unity, Wisconsin, spelled out .org. Mr. Zommers, as he always does, great at it. He will put all this in our show notes so you can see it directly from them. We have about a minute and a half here before the first break. We'll come back and finish this up. But again, tell folks where the kickoff event is tomorrow and what the focus is on this tour.
Thank you, Todd. So we're kicking off tomorrow from the state capitol, the State Street corner outside. A Ho-Chunk woman-led and organized Women's Day celebration is happening starting at 10 a.m. It'll go till 12:30. At that time, some Ho-Chunk drummers and singers will play a traveling song to send the Unity Mobile on its way.
That's great.
And one of our first stops will be Viroqua. We'll be moving on to La Crosse. And then we're visiting the Ho-Chunk in their community up in Black River Falls the next day, still celebrating Women's Day weekend. Why we chose Women's Day? We feel that equity for all people, including women, is something we need in this country very badly.
Yeah, certainly timely, as they say these days, to do that. And I love the fact that you are starting in Madison, the capital, but you're going to some of these more rural areas of the state where oftentimes we don't have these thoughtful discussions. And I think it's great. We're going to come back, talk more about this tour with Tim Gordon from Building Unity, Wisconsin, and Brady Ewing after the bottom of the hour on football and also mental health and basketball. So it's a well-rounded show today. I'm glad you're along with us on a snowy Friday. It's the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation.
Great.
92.7 WMDX.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute.
What did I say
Your
before?
government
Before you were
trying
saying Gordon.
to
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No.
to the North
My
Carolina
bad
Court
writing
of
myself.
Appeals, a
Gordon,
bipartisan
I
Gordon.
apologize.
It's spelled right on the screen, right?
Cordoned off the area.
Yeah, it's right on the screen. It's just
Okay,
Todd.
good.
It's just Todd's stupidity.
Ineligible
Thank you.
after
Sorry
November.
about
No
that.
problem.
State Supreme
It's very
Court
common.
justice
It's
is
Oh,
arguing
goodness
another
gracious,
appeals
Todd.
case that gerrymandering by the state
Is there anything
legislature
specifically you want to make sure we'll have
something
about
about
6-ish minutes when we come back? Anything else you want to make sure we get to?
that as many as
No, I think you're doing a
65,000
great job.
registered
Okay.
eligible
I'm
voters
impressed.
had
You're quite
incomplete
impressed.
registrations in a race
I've been doing it a
lost
little
by
while, but no, it's
734
just fun to have
votes
great
to
discussions,
incumbent
really.
Justice Allison Riggs.
I think
The
that
race
most
is
our
the
audience
only
really
unresolved
enjoys that
election
when
in the country.
we can
In
just
late February, a
talk like
bipartisan
normal
group of
people, I guess,
42
for lack of a
former
better
county
term,
election
and
directors
it was
filed
more
a brief outlining
eavesdropping
why the
and
voters
not.
should be
And it's
considered
fine, like to
valid,
sometimes have
concluding
written
the
questions
citizens
written
of
out,
North
but I think it's
Carolina
just
who
more
obey the
people will
laws
hear
and
it better if
directions
it's
of
an
the
actual
elections
conversation.
administrators should
So,
not have their votes
anyway, and it helps to have great
discarded.
guests.
In another North Carolina case,
Yeah,
former state
absolutely.
Supreme Court
Appreciate you
Justice
very much.
Bob
You're
Orr
Appreciate
is
you.
arguing in state appeals court
so I'm
that
curious,
the legislature's
you
gerrymandered
cut me off.
voting
Yeah,
districts
no, that's fine. I
manipulate
just got a
election
couple things.
outcomes. By packing
be a
voters by
Republican, now
party
you-
into a
do you
district
line
up
beyond
with
use,
Democrats
it
now?
violates the state
I'm an
constitutional
independent. I don't
guarantee
belong to
of free
either
elections
party,
with a
but I
fair
haven't
count.
I
Orr
haven't
told the
voted
Charlotte
anything
News
but
and Observer
Democratic
that they
since
can't stuff the ballot
2011,
box.
12.
How can
So
they stuff the
you know,
vote? We have more
I
on
just
both
think that
cases at American
I think that the
I'm
big
Brian
issue is
Whittier.
democracy, and
Looking to strengthen the
you know that's a
bond
pretty
with the
low
public,
bar.
Dane
One
County
would
Humane
think, but it
Society
turns
offers a
out no,
variety
not
of
so
dog
much. So
training
I just
classes
think it's the
led by
only major
certified
party with a
trainers.
viable
Classes are
chance to win
designed to help
elections
you
regularly
and your furry
that
friend
still
learn
is
new
protecting
skills,
the
improve
small d
behavior, and
democracy
deepen your
and
connection.
20
Whether
seconds.
Your dog is a curious puppy, an independent teenager,
gives people
or
a chance to
lifelong-
the nation to carry on.
You believe in the climate emergencies?
10 seconds.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 21 now past the hour of 12 noon on this Friday, March 7th, 2025. Zommers on the board. Glad to have you along with us here on a Friday. Snow coming down. Doesn't look like a whole heck of a lot. Most of the accumulation will be along the Wisconsin-Illinois border. So says our meteorology team. So, but be careful out there if you're driving on the highways and byways. Could get some slickery roads. But we should have a warm up by the weekend. Maybe temperatures into the 50s in some part of the state. So be aware of that. Right now, we have a coming up after the bottom of the hour, Brady Ewing, former Wisconsin Badger football player, spent 3 years in the NFL. Going to spend some time talking about mental health today. A couple of great stories from Wisconsin Badger basketball. Some of those things that we don't always think about when it comes to our athletes, whether it be high school, college, or the NFL. But right now, we're pleased to be joined by Tim Corden. If Todd could read his writing, I think I got it wrong at least once in the last segment. Tim, I apologize for that. Tim is the from the Building Unity Wisconsin organization, and they are kicking off a statewide bus tour tomorrow here in Madison. You can learn all about the itinerary and more about their great organization by going to buildingunitywisconsin.org. That's Building Unity Wisconsin, spelled out, .org, and it's a great tour. Again, Tim, I apologize. You would think because I was a big James Corden fan when he was the host of the Late Late Show. Any relation, do you know?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay, all right, very good.
Spelled differently.
But great to have you along, and thanks for taking the time to be in studio here today. One of the watching us on YouTube right now, we have Tim who says, "Love seeing Tim and the Building Unity bus at different union strikes I've attended. Hashtag solidarity." Well, you have a fan. Look at that.
Hey, thanks, Tim.
Appreciate you being here. So tell folks a little bit again, because, well, I'm going to let you go first. You're the guest. As you've traveled around Wisconsin or held these before, what issues do you hear mostly? Is there a through line that people, regardless of partisan affiliation, political affiliation, what's the through line that you found that Wisconsinites are most concerned about?
I would say there are two main ones. One is that people want a fair shake for their work. You know, as working people, we're tired of seeing the wages of the elites, the owning class, go up and up and up and up and up, astronomical figures. And working people are not keeping up with the economy, inflation. And so I think that's a big thing. People are finding it's harder to get by, and they're having to work two jobs, you know, and you know, both members of the family working two jobs or one job, you know, it's just really hard for people to get by. The other thing is our environment. Anybody who's paying attention realizes that we are in a environmental emergency, and it's getting worse and worse every year. And if we want to leave our children any kind of livable planet, we've got a lot of work to do, and we need to do it quickly. So those are the two I would say. The other thing is, we see that there's always money for war. There's always money to send billions off, and we know that the weapons industries profit greatly from all of that. But how is that helping America? It doesn't seem to be helping America at all. It seems that more than not, we are making enemies around the globe while we promote wars that just level people. So we're very much about promoting peace and bringing that money home to meet the human needs, good education, good infrastructure. We need to transition to a livable green economy, and all of that could be paid for with just a couple weeks of what we spend on war in this world.
We did a show last Earth Day, just north of town here at Governor Nelson State Park. We had the late governor and U.S. Senator's daughter, Tia Nelson, on. And I think it's a good reminder that these issues of conservation are, at one time in this state, they were bipartisan. She made the point that her late father, Governor and Senator Gaylord Nelson, worked with Republicans to create Earth Day and to do these projects. Warren Knowles, former Republican governor, was very pro conservation and helped with a lot of things there. And you even look at somebody like former Governor Tommy Thompson, an ardent Republican, worked with my former boss, Dale Schultz, a Republican in the state assembly at the time, and Spencer Black from Madison in the state assembly, a very liberal and proud Democrat, to create the Lower Wisconsin Riverway that is now celebrating its 35th anniversary. And I think if we take a moment to step back at history, some of our greatest accomplishments when it comes to the environment and conservation of the state have been bipartisan, and we've allowed kind of modern day politics to skew that. But it shouldn't be, because it doesn't matter our political affiliation. I think we all enjoy a state park or going fishing or hiking or hunting or camping.
Absolutely. Yeah. Who doesn't love nature? Who doesn't love seeing the wildlife in Wisconsin and getting out and hiking in the woods or hunting or fishing or whatever it is you love to do in the woods? Mm-hmm. It's very important. And we are so dependent on our environment being alive and clean. Is it any wonder that more and more people are dying of cancer, these days? And I think the answer is really working to clean up our environment and to protect it with everything we've got. And we know that at the rate things are going, there's not going to be a livable planet for our kids. So
about 2 minutes left. Time always goes too quickly, Tim, but talk to us a little bit about, once again, remind folks where this tour is kicking off tomorrow, and then this focus on the April 1st election, please.
Yeah, so we're kicking off from the state capitol, the State Street steps, Ho-Chunk and woman-led celebration of Earth Day. There'll be Ho-Chunk drummers and singers and dancers. There'll be many good speakers, and we're kicking off around the state to really sound the alarm that this Supreme Court election on April 1st is critical. A lot of our human rights, our environmental protections, all kinds of things are on the block. Fair maps. We've enjoyed having some fair maps and having more of a democracy in this last election. And if we want that to continue, we really need to make sure that the Supreme Court has people on it that are in favor with democracy and human rights.
And again, this tour is going to be going all across the state, places like Green Bay, Appleton, Madison, Sheboygan, Mequon, Kenosha, Racine, Milwaukee, Beloit, it's all over the state.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out is we're going to at least visit, but we're trying to arrange for meetings with all 12 of the sovereign indigenous nations in Wisconsin. So it's really an international tour.
That's fantastic. That's great. And you can find out more by going to Building Wisconsin.
Building Unity.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Building Unity Wisconsin. BuildingUnityWisconsin.org. Tim Corden, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you and appreciate all your work. Safe travels around the state.
Thanks so much, Todd.
Our pleasure. Stay with us. Come on back. Brady Ewing is next. Talk about Badger sports, the NFL, and mental health. And maybe a little snowshoeing as well. I don't know. We'll figure something. Come on back. Brady Ewing is next. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
News and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
Yesterday, the United States Championship Cheese Contest came to a close, and the top cheeses in the country were showcased. But their markets may be going through a limbo. I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report, and Bryce Windecker, a dairy analyst with Everag, is here to explain why we should be watching
Star of
the
stage
European...
and screen. We're matching today. We have our matching.
I
Wisconsin.
know. I saw that when I jumped on.
I love it.
Not
All right.
planned. Good. How are you doing?
Good. It was so we have a full show today. So it's fun. Less Todd, more other people. That's always a good thing.
No, it's a nice balance. I've been listening more and more as I drive around. Usually not live. Usually on
Yeah.
Spotify. But yeah, been doing a great job.
Well, we appreciate that. We try. Zommers holds it together.
Job Zommers.
I do my best.
Absolutely. So we've got we got the two stories on Steamsma and Klesmet.
Is Klesmet in reference to his response with Guard on NIL?
No,
Were you
it was
thinking Gilmore?
I had that. Oh, geez, I'm Gilmore. My gosh, good. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay.
I get my play. Yeah, it's on Carter. That video on Carter Gilmore.
Yep, that's awesome.
Yep.
I thought that interesting timing on those two as
I
well.
know,
With
right?
the Steamsma article coming out. So
Did Gilmore actually take a year off? Or just
not
like
that
over
I
the summer?
remember. I think just over probably some of the less formal team activities. That's what I'm thinking.
That's kind of what I thought too, is maybe over the summers or whatever. But I just thought that was really interesting. Let's see. So, Dave, why are you so Dave in New Berlin, a little salty? Democrats gave me Mary Burke, so I gave them the finger. Come on, Dave. There's no reason to be salty. Conrad up in Green Bay asking, where's the tutu? Yes, for those watching the stream, I was on the fantastic program Nightlight last night talking about my popcorn pick of the week. I picked one of my favorite films, The Obscure, and I have it right here, Steal Big, Steal Little, with Andy Garcia. And so I came on Pete's show last night, and there's the video. I was in pink and a tutu and a cowboy hat and a short suite with Maker's Mark, because there's a character, David Ogden Stiers, who played Charles on The MASH. He dresses like that in for part of the film. So I was playing the part, you understand. So no, Conrad, I left the tutu at home.
Dang. I texted him back saying maybe you had it in your backpack for hour 2. Maybe that was more of a hope than anything.
No.
I'm not sure I'd be matching your dress the same if that was the case. But there are some pictures of me back in the day when I was a little strapper, like maybe 6'7". My older sister dressed me up and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
I know how that goes.
Painted my fingernails and all sorts of fun stuff.
That's fantastic. Let's see.
Always love the folding chair in the corner, Aaron.
It's sitting there for someone to come co-pilot.
I forgot. But we have another real chair in here.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think last time I was on the show, I'm blanking on his name, who covered for you, but I noticed
Sam.
Yeah, Sam. We'd started doing the StreamYard live feed more so, and I noticed that. So nice little office decor. That's real life, That's
the real
functional
deal.
office.
10 seconds.
All right, here we go.
When I think about you, I think about 17. I think about my old Jeep. I think about the stars in the sky. Funny how a melody sounds like a memory.
Civic Media Radio Network. On this TGI Friday edition, March 7th, it is 34 minutes past the hour of 12 noon. We bring on now our favorite 34 in all the world. We share a hometown in Richland Center. He spent 3 years. We spent 4 years with Wisconsin Badgers, won 3 Big Ten championships, went to 3 Rose Bowls, was the captain of the team his senior year after starting as a walk-on, then spent 3 years in the NFL with Atlanta and Jacksonville, respectively. Not only is he a great dad and husband, he's a fantastic deer hunter as well, as evidenced by the mounts on his wall behind him. The one and the only Brady Ewing joins us from the old hometown in RC in the Driftless. Brady, how the heck are you?
Doing awesome. Yeah, maybe you'll get some people to jump on the live feed and check out the deer in the background. Thanks for that shout out.
Oh, absolutely. It's fantastic. Join us in the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, on the Civic Media page on Facebook, also the Allbaugh Show page, whichever you want to do. And you have how many mounts do you have? Is this like what part of the house is this in?
Yeah, this is my little man cave office area. So
fantastic.
My wife Rachel voted on the dark color in here, which I think works well with the mounts. So I got 4 mounts back there and a European here, and then a few others in the hunting room and some other areas.
My granddad Allbaugh was a big hunter back on the farm, and he had, their house wasn't all that big, and so he had mounts like in the living room, in the dining room, in the utility room. They were everywhere. My grandma had no say over it. And then we went out, we took a family trip with the grandkids out to South Dakota, and he brought back a quote-unquote mount of a jackalope, which of course is a jackrabbit with fake horns put on it. And he put that right up next to the deer, and I thought that was hilarious.
That's great. Yeah, mine haven't ventured out to the living room yet, so that's an ongoing conversation. But I'm happy to have them in here, and I like taking a peek at them when I'm on conference calls for work and doing some of those things.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Well, Brady, lots to get to this week. We always appreciate you taking the time. State tournament time. We were showing earlier the sidewalks here in downtown Madison are busier than normal on a Friday. Lots of high school kids in town. State high school hockey is this weekend. Our own Chad Holmes from WXCO. And there's the street. Well, not quite as many people right now, but they had some teams walking up and down. It's great because you can tell they're dressed in their team warm-ups or whatever. And they're excited to be here from all over the state. Chad Holmes from WXCO and in Wausau. I know their girls team is here. He's down here broadcasting that. But I don't think it matters whether it's, we had last week, we had a state high school wrestling tournament in Madison. This week we got hockey. We got boys basketball coming up. And then a little bit later in the spring, you have state solo ensemble from band and choir. I just think it's great when these high school kids get to take that trip to Madison and showcase it. It's a learning experience.
It is. I mean, it's a great culmination on a season. Obviously, the ones that made it down to Madison for the state tournament, they're trying to win it all and trying to make memories with their teams and for their communities. So I think that's really cool. And I can speak. I never had the chance to play in a state tournament or anything, but we had the chance to play down at UW at Camp Randall against Platteville, a part of a series they used to do where high school teams could come in and play at Camp Randall. And I can remember the excitement, before the season started and that week leading up to that game, just looking forward to playing on the field that the Badgers played on and other Big Ten teams. And just a great memory that's etched in my brain. And that's a cool experience for those kids. And I know my sister had a chance to experience that when she was in high school with the Richland Center basketball team, playing at state a few times. And just great memories for them.
Was that, did you always kind of know in the back of your head when you, in your high school football career, did you just say, I want to go to Wisconsin no matter what? Because you could have gone to a D3 or a D2 school and started right away. You chose to be a walk-on to go to Wisconsin that first year.
Yeah, I did. Growing up in the state, I always rooted for the Badgers. And so we were going on different recruiting visits throughout the Big Ten and trying to, see if I could get scholarship offers and things like that. I did have one from a Division I school from University of North Dakota to play linebacker, and then some Division II and Division III opportunities. But in my heart, I knew I wanted to be a Badger. And as we've been texting here the last couple of weeks and we see stories about our others that are Badgers currently, like Klesmet and Gilmore, I feel like my story parallels theirs a little bit in the fact that I wanted to be a Badger, and you somewhat become the heartbeat of your team from a a passion standpoint and a culture standpoint. And just, yeah, so to go in and be a walk-on and then earn a scholarship and be a contributor to that, something that's way bigger than me, that represents the state, and I think a lot of people in the state are passionate about, was super, super fulfilling and rewarding.
Yeah, it really is. You brought up Carter Gilmore. I think, Zommers, we have a little bit of a clip here. This is a story, I believe the Big Ten Network put out a profile piece on Carter Gilmore. As you said, Brady, a Wisconsin guy who walked on. We're not going to play all of it. You can find it online in socials. But I want to give folks just a taste of the start of this profile by the Big Ten Network on Wisconsin men's basketball player Carter Gilmore.
Carter is one of those guys that was born to be a Badger.
My dad played for Bo Ryan over at Platteville.
It was quite an experience playing with Bo. In 1990, when we won the national championship, he really preached the fundamentals, how to work hard, play defense, and that's what I try to teach Carter.
That was my dream from the beginning, to be a Wisconsin Badger one day. I didn't care if I was a walk-on or not. I just came in the first day with so much joy. I think that ultimately led Coach Card to that next summer offering me a scholarship.
He would do whatever it took to help this team be successful. That's the bottom line. It didn't matter.
We'll cut it off there. That's Greg Gard at the very end there saying that it didn't matter. It took whatever it took to help the team. I thought it was so well done, Brady. You and your brother Brandon and I were kind of texting about it. Just knee-jerk thoughts on Carter Gilmore as a player and a guy.
You cut out there as a what?
I said just your knee-jerk thoughts as a Carter Gilmore as just a player and a guy.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I watched that piece and I got goosebumps and emotional through that, along with some of the other stuff that I think we're going to chat about today. And I wasn't super high on him, and he talks more in that video about his progression as a player. Like, he wanted to be a Badger. He's has the history with his dad and Bo Ryan. When he first came in, I don't think performed to his expectations or to people's expectations around him. He talks through some of the challenges that came with that, and the way that he was able to go, reset his mindset, and now has led into a senior year where he's been just having a tremendous run, especially here at the back half of the season. So early in his career, to be honest, I wasn't super high on him, but to see the way he's progressed and now learn more about his story and the way that, I didn't know about his dad and his history with Bo, but you can see those flashes in what he brings to the team. You can tell he's a heartbeat guy that guys rally around, that want to be around, and he's been doing a great job shooting some threes, doing the dirty work, getting rebounds. And so just really cool to see more and more people open up about the challenges they have, whether that's mental or physical challenges, and the process they've taken to try to get in a better headspace and embrace who they are, and know that they have intrinsic value beyond just, what they're putting out on the court or the football field, whatever it may be.
You mentioned, he gets very open in this piece on the Big Ten Network. It gets emotional talking about it. That after that first season, then they offer him he's a walk-on. They offer him a scholarship. Guard does, and then he doesn't really perform up to expectations. And again, there seems to be a recurring theme now in today's world. On social media, people just start saying nasty things to him. And after a game, he's looking at this and he just gets dejected, and it really affects him. And he ends up taking during kind of the off season, if you will, and goes on this trip with a few friends across Europe to get away from it and to reevaluate himself and to take care of his mental health. And then I want to just kind of bring in this other story. We're going to put links to this on the website today. Greg Steamswell came out with a piece, former Wisconsin Badger player, now one of the assistant coaches under Greg Gard at basketball, who had to take a season, I believe, away from basketball, and talks about the fact that, the former trainer, Henry, I can't say his last name.
Perez.
Thank you. Henry Guerrero Perez. Did you know him? I mean, I know he worked primarily with basketball, But I mean,
Yep.
he literally saved Greg Stevenson's life.
Yeah, and you just gave me goosebumps there again, but I had a chance to meet and get to know Henry a little bit during the recruiting process in basketball when I was getting recruited by Greg and Bo. And it doesn't surprise me. I can remember going on the facility.
Whoop, we had a little, it's the snowstorm there. The snowstorm on the internet there cut out for a second, but we'll reestablish connections with Brady Ewing here in just a couple of seconds. Let's see. Are you back, Brady? Sorry.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
The snowstorm cut out for a second, but the last thing we heard was that you got to know Henry Perez just a little bit on the recruiting trail when Coach Ryan was recruiting you along with guard, but go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about those technical difficulties, but yeah, had a chance to get to meet him, get to know him a little bit, and I got that sense right away. He just pulled me aside, asked me, how I was doing, and so genuine. You just get that sense when people are genuinely curious and interested in how they can help and support you. And so I felt that right away. And I think for me, reading that article, obviously love Steemsma's, forthcoming and just his vulnerability to share that story first and foremost. But I think it's a great reminder for us all that one, you never know what somebody's going through. I think it's easy to look at people that are on this pedestal of sport or whatever they're doing, even in any working career. And people are always, you never know what they're going through, whether that's as a family, as an individual. And you never know when you can be Henry to somebody.
Yeah.
Being genuinely curious on how people are doing. And I think we all have that sense when we know somebody's not doing well and we ask the question, and sometimes we take their "no, I'm good" as for what it's worth. But I think pushing forward, asking more questions, and just having the sense to know that when somebody's not doing well and how you can support them. And sometimes that's just being there side by side with them. And I think Henry and Greg did a tremendous job orchestrating that and hopefully inspiring others to do the same.
Yeah. Gilmore in his story talks about just needing time with friends away from basketball to kind of refocus and come back. He said joyful. He's like, came back to be a joyful player and focus on the joy of it. And that's really helped him turn his game around. And Steemsma, he had a bad day. And here's the trainer for men's basketball, Henry Perez, showing up at 3 a.m. to knock on the door. And Perez just like, you seem like you had a rough day. And at first, Steemsma was like, I'm fine. But Perez, to your point, Brady, knew that he pushed through that. And he stayed with him until the sun came up, till like 6:30 in the morning. And that was the impetus for Steemsma to go and get counseling and to confront his parents and Coach Ryan. Not confront, but to say, look, I've neglected my studies because of my mental health. I'm not going to be academically eligible in the spring, and I need help.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of courage. I haven't been in that exact situation, but to go to people when you care about sports so much and to go to those people that kind of hold that in their hands per se, whether that's your head coach, your position coach, that takes a lot of vulnerability that they won't hold things like that against you. You always want to portray this image of, in sport, toughness and, I got it all together, but it's okay. It's a great reminder that it's okay to not be okay. And everybody's human. Everybody has challenges they deal with, and people genuinely want to help and support. You just have to vocalize it and ask for it at times and be vulnerable with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Our reminder when we talk about things like this, if you or someone that you love or know needs to talk with someone, if you feel that you need help, it is only a phone call or text away. Simply pick up your phone and dial 988. 988. There is someone standing by 7 days a week, 24 hours a day to talk with you. And look at folks like Carter Gilmore. Look at folks like Greg Steemsma, who Brady said it seems like they always have it together, but none of us really do, I don't think, all the time. And we all need help sometimes. Come on back. We'll be helped out with Brady Ewing being our guest after this on the Todd Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
Station 92.7 WMDX.
That was great. Really good stuff.
Yeah, that was glad we could talk about that stuff. Zommers, nice job with the little runway of text on the bottom too. Did you do that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's always on it. See?
That's great.
There are a few of those that we always have ready, and that's one of them. So.
Awesome.
in the legislature
Want to come back and talk a little bit about?
called the budget dead on arrival.
Well, let's talk just briefly about the game. I'm not. Hopefully, it won't be much of a game on Saturday, but just kind of the wrapping up the regular season and then the prospects for the tournament, and then we'll get into pro day a little bit in the draft.
Sure. Yep, that sounds great. Yeah, we're actually going over to the game tomorrow.
Are you really? That's great.
Yeah, taking the kiddos.
Oh,
Should
that's
be fun.
awesome. They should love that.
We've been trying to get to one a year, and we were able to go to that practice earlier this year. So excited to get to the game.
Any way he can.
That's awesome.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation area and on our website at civicmedia.us.
Celebrate the women who have helped shape the world as we honor Women's History Month with powerful.
Who else you got as guests here in the second hour?
No more guests really per se. Zommers is going to do his board game of the week, and we got Scott Klug with a little political commentary at the end of the show. And we got What's Worse. What's worse, Brady? People who are always early or people who are always late?
Oh man, I'd have to say late, but if you're too early, you're too early, you know?
Right?
So there's the fine line there. It's like, okay, are you 3 to 5 minutes or are you 15 minutes? So,
Or
but I'd have to say,
an hour early.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's just
oh,
too
no,
much.
that's way too early.
Way too early.
Have I told you about,
20 seconds.
Brett Bielema's early, type conversations?
No. All right, we'll get to that. Hang on.
All right.
Aaron Zommers looking at me saying Todd really does need to lose some weight. That means I play this so I jump around. The only exercise I get in my broadcast day. Appreciate that, Zommers. 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock. Coming up at the top of the hour, CBS ABC News, followed by a check of weather. Our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, along with sports. And then hour number 2, What's Worse, coming up, having to do with time. People who are always early or people who are always late. Brady Ewing, 3-time Big Ten champion with Wisconsin Badger football, 3 years in the NFL, joins us every other Friday. Brady, what do you think? People who are always early or people who are always late?
I'm going with people who are always late, but there's such a fine line for being too early. And we were talking about it during the break a little bit. And Brett Bielema was big when I was at Wisconsin on being early. And typically he would start meetings. If we were slated to start at 1 p.m., he would start it at 12:55. So you knew there was the 5-minute window.
Yeah.
But then later in my career, it started getting to the point where you didn't know when he was going to start. So early in my career, it was 5 minutes, typically on the nose early. And then later in my career, it was like 15, 20 minutes early.
What?
So you never really knew what the calendar would say 1 p.m., but they might start the meeting at 12:40. So it just kept you on your toes, which I struggled with because then they would get punished. I never got into the trouble with it, but they would give people, quote unquote punishment for being late when they were actually 15 minutes earlier than the time that was on the schedule. And it's like,
No, see,
man,
that's
this
too
is
early.
getting
That's too
pretty
early.
extreme. Yeah.
That's too early. But by the way, your former teammate, James White, going to Illinois now to help out to help out the Illini and Bielema.
Crazy. Yeah, I'm happy for James. And I know that he's been doing some stuff with NIU and Thomas Hammock to Northern Illinois. And to see him able to get into that space, James is just an awesome guy. Has his own podcast and, played obviously a long time with some great football minds. So no doubt he'll bring a ton to that team. And Bielema keeps building out guys that have, Wisconsin history or that he's coached with a long time. So it'll be interesting to see what Illinois continues to do in the future. They've been getting better and better and better every year.
Yeah. I think they're going to be a thorn in Wisconsin's side, but we'll save that to another day. Quickly, Brady, Wisconsin Badgers got a big win against the evil Golden Gophers. No, I shouldn't say that, but against the Golden Gophers of Minnesota this week on Wednesday. And poor Jack Janicki. I mean, here's another kid from Minnesota that was could have gone other places, decided to walk on at Wisconsin, is paying his own way. You gotta know there's some NIL money in his future real soon. But coming off the bench, I think he scored 6 or 8 points, 8 seconds left, and the kid gets pushed to the floor and chips part of his tooth off. I mean, loses a tooth.
That's brutal. I mean, yeah, we texted a little bit about this. My brother's dealt with that from playing basketball as well. And it's, maybe this could be a good NIL opportunity for him to work with like some dental place or some braces place.
Dr. Rob Bradley, a first choice dental. He was voted the #1 cosmetic dentist in Madison. I said, get over to him.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Let's bring Jack some money.
That's unfortunate. The picture I saw, he had a smile on his face and obviously got the win, but man, that's brutal. Hopefully he got those fixed up and could be ready to go for tomorrow.
I like that Wisconsin. You said you're going to go tomorrow. I like Wisconsin's chances to wrap up the season with a win. Assuming you do as well.
Yeah, I think they'll, especially at home. I mean, Big Penn State's, I think, on a 2-game losing streak at the kind of the bottom of the Big Ten. You never know in the Big Ten because it's such a tough conference on who's going to show up. But I think it's senior day as well. So I think the team will be inspired to come out and compete, especially with some of the challenges they've had the last 3-4 games. I think we'll keep them motivated and hopefully hit their stride and take care of business.
Iowa not really almost, but they were ahead of Michigan State last night in Iowa by like 10 with 6 minutes to go. And then Tom Izzo blew a gasket, and they got kind of going. Michigan State wins last night over the Evil Friends of Iowa, and they clinched the Big Ten outright now. So the final game against Michigan really doesn't mean anything. Quickly, Brady, looking ahead to the Big Ten tournament and NCAA, how do you like the Badgers' chances?
I like their chances. I'm, assuming that we can hit the ground running here and then in the Big Ten tournament. I feel like we've had some challenges at the right time and are, continue to gain momentum and win games. So I like their chances. In the tournament, it usually comes up to matchups, especially in the NCAA tournament. Just making sure you can get one-on-one matchups with guys and they're hot on specific days. And I think with the depth of talent that we have and how we kind of been rotating who's been producing, and then hopefully with Klesmit coming back tomorrow, I feel like he is a little bit of a heartbeat that we've been missing the last couple games. I think all of the stars are aligning for them to make a nice run.
Yeah, looking like it's for sure a 3 seed at this point. Maybe an outside chance of a 2 if they go deep in the Big Ten tournament for the NCAAs. That's important because Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee hosts one of the first round games. It looks like Wisconsin could be playing in Milwaukee, and we all know the power of that to advancing to the Sweet 16. Quickly, Brady, I've left you all about a minute and a half here, or less than that. Pro Day, the NFL draft coming up here in Green Bay soon. Pro Day. Did you ever participate in Pro Day, Brady?
I did, yeah. I didn't do all of the events. I tried to do everything at the Combine when I had a chance to be there. And so I used Pro Day more as a chance to work directly with coaches on drills or skills that they wanted to see. And then Russell was looking for like a running back to catch passes out of the backfield. So I took part in that, and yeah, it was a great experience. I don't know if I've shared it before, but
Russell and I, go ahead. Yeah.
Russell was on fire that day. And so it was
Russell
cool.
Wilson.
Russell Wilson. Yeah. Doug Peterson was there and had a chance to go grab lunch with those guys afterwards. So really cool experience and kind of laid the foundation leading into the season.
With 20 seconds, he drops on, I had dinner with Doug Peterson and Russell Wilson. If that's not a tease for the next segment, for the next time, I don't know what is. Well done, Brady Ewing. Thank you very much. We appreciate you, my friend. We'll see you around the neighborhood. Take care, Brady
Thank
Ewing.
you.
Our pleasure. What's Worse is next. Come on back. Don't be late on the Civic Media Ready Network.
Good stuff.
That's fantastic.
I
just had dinner.
I do like being live. I think you're right. I think having that, even just being able to see you on my little phone here, I think worked well. I was getting a call and I tried to mute it, and so it must have blacked me out for some reason quick. So
no big deal.
I'll figure that out for next time.
Nah, don't worry about it. It was fun. All right, thanks, Brady. Appreciate you. Take care.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
This is pretirement.org, brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us. This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Employers added 151,000 jobs last month. The Labor Department figures, though, do not yet include federal layoffs announced in February by the Trump administration. President Trump at the White House says he believes jobs will be added in manufacturing down the road, but uncertainty due to tariffs and a possible trade war with Canada, Mexico, and China could cause businesses to pull back. ABC's Selena Wang has more.
The president also saying in those remarks that he plans to put more tariffs on Canadian dairy and lumber as soon as today. He said maybe Monday or Tuesday. He talked about how Canada has tariffs of 250% on those products, and he says the U.S. wants to treat their dairy and lumber at the same rates.
The president holds a crypto summit this afternoon. He's voiced support for expanding U.S. digital currency policy. A fast-moving winter blast moving across parts of the Midwest today, with Chicago expecting a few inches of snow before it moves east. This is ABC News.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. UW-Madison has its new police chief. He's already been in charge for about a year. Brent Plish has been with UW-PD for nearly 20 years and was named interim chief after the resignation of Kristen Roman. Roman was accused of favoritism toward an officer she had a romantic relationship with and misuse of her police vehicle. Plish led the police response to the encampment of students protesting in support of Palestine last year, in which protesters and officers were hurt. He says UW-PD, the administration, and the student body have to work together to move forward. The Dane County Board adopted a resolution asking lawmakers to act to prevent gun violence. Municipal governments aren't allowed to make their own rules on guns, so the board is asking legislators to do so immediately. They're pushing for what are typically called common sense reforms, expanded background checks requiring locked gun storage, and red flag laws, where people can petition the court to have someone's access to their guns temporarily suspended if a judge agrees they're a danger to themselves or others. Guns are the #1 cause of death for American children. State Senator Kelda Roys.
I don't know how many dead kids we need for Republicans in this building to start caring about that and prioritizing their lives and their safety over their own political careers. But you know, other states have done this, some with Republican support. This is not rocket science. This is basic humanity.
The Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence says Wisconsin gets a C for its gun safety laws. That grade would be better with these measures. Wisconsin has not passed any significant gun legislation in years. Democrats have tried unsuccessfully to introduce at least 30 gun safety measures since 2019. More than 700 people die and more than 1,600 are hurt because of gun violence in Wisconsin every year. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, and this is 92.7 WMDX News.
The Brewers blank the A's. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Baseball, the Brewers shut out the Oakland A's last night 10-0 in Cactus League action. Pat Murphy asked if the Crew can make the playoffs again this year.
Of course we can. We have in the past and we can again.
College basketball, Marquette getting ready to host number 6 ranked St. John's at Fiserv Forum tomorrow. The Badgers take on Penn State at noon tomorrow at the Kohl Center. The UWM Panthers losing at home to Oakland 72-64 in the Horizon League tournament, ending their season at 21-11. And Mason Crosby retiring today as a Packer. He only played for one other team, the Giants, after leaving Green Bay.
I'm so grateful for the Packers allowing me to let me retire and be done and be a Packer forever, because that's where my heart is. And I hope everybody knows that I did play 3 games one other place, but I will be a Green Bay Packer forever.
That's former Packers kicker Mason Crosby with Sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Spotty light snow this afternoon only lays down a trace. But we're stuck with mostly cloudy skies and cooler temperatures today, flirting with the freezing mark. As the system passes and skies clear tonight, lows will fall to near 20. And tomorrow, plenty of sunshine on tap and warmer, with highs in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot.
It's 33 at our studios.
The Dom Salvia Show.
Elon Musk. You're going to fire a bunch of folks. Well, that's going to, increase unemployment. That's going to have an impact on the economy. The government buys farmers' goods for the USAID and no more USAID. Well, this thing's going to rot in the field. What happens to the prices? What happens to the farmers? What is the point here? It just seems like these are just such amateur decision making, wasting our taxpayer dollars by wasting people's time.
The Dom Salvia Show. Weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app. Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
I'm very excited. It is my pleasure to welcome tonight my old pal, Dr. Kristen Lyerly. I told the entire listening audience that I rub my feet together sometime when I watch TV, and I called it self-cuddling. And it's like the only thing we do where we rub our own bodies when we relax.
There's a sequel to this promo, by the way.
Are you calling that?
We have just enough time. We don't have enough time for me to play it right now, but it's funny. We got about 25 seconds.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with the outstanding producer and engineer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program. Glad to have you along. Downtown Madison on State Street, snow has dissipated, if we could use the word. Not only that, it's pretty much stopped. A little snowy here, a little snow there, but all in all, not expecting a whole lot of accumulation across much of Wisconsin. Some places in far southern Wisconsin along the Illinois border may see an inch or so, but nothing dramatic. Temperatures warming up into, in some places, not everywhere, some places into the 50s in Wisconsin this weekend. So spring is on its way. And don't forget, Zommers, it is daylight saving time. Starts this weekend. Don't forget, as a spring forward, fall back. Don't forget to set your, some people still have the old clocks. You have to set it yourself. Digital clocks, not all of them, but some reset themselves. Yeah. I have in my kitchen, I have a digital clock on my stove, and right above it, I have a digital clock on my microwave. And people who know me will not be surprised. One of the clocks is set for daylight saving time, and one is set for standard time. And that way I don't have to change them. And so for me, it's not, is it daylight saving?
You just like put a piece of tape over it?
No. It's just, I don't call it daylight saving time or standard time. It's just, is it oven time or microwave time?
Maybe I'll do that with my oven and microwave.
Right? Yeah. Right now we're on oven time, but we're soon to change to microwave time. I just remember, I got to look at the microwave starting on Sunday. Anyway, in all seriousness, daylight saving time starts. So, for those that have to get up in the morning, it's going to be bad because it's going to be darker. But for people who like light in the afternoon into the evening, it's going to, like Sunday night, sunset's like pretty close to 7 o'clock at night now. So anyway, just like the weather, can't do anything about it. So move on forward. And it's my least favorite evening. This Saturday evening is my least favorite evening of the year.
This Monday is one of the most dangerous days of the year as far as driving.
People have heart attacks, right?
Yeah, that and have accidents and it's like a full moon on steroids, basically.
And then I get it back in the fall. So the Sunday after we fall back is my favorite day of the year. Speaking of time, we're going to be getting into some time here in just a minute with our edition of What's Worse for today. Many thanks to Tim Corden and Brady Ewing for being on in the first hour of the show. Great guests, great people great discussion. So glad to have them along. Later on this hour, Mr. Zommers will have another edition of Board Game of the Week, how you can spend the weekend connecting with one another over a great board game. And then our old friend Scott Klug, former Republican congressman representing Wisconsin's 2nd District. We're starting a new feature on Fridays with Klug, a political orphan, as he calls himself now. Longtime moderate Republican. Those don't really exist anymore. So he finds himself former congressman without party, basically. So he has a couple of thoughts on the upcoming election on April 1st, and Klug will be in with his political take of the week. So looking forward to that before the end of the show. And Elon Musk, this is real. Elon Musk wants to put a chip in your head.
Of course he does.
And we ain't talking Doritos. So all that and more, plus your phone calls. Always glad to have you along. It's 10 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Time once again for a Friday edition of What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. And of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that.
Time once again for What's Worse. Nothing to give away, no prize money involved, but it is your chance to have your voice heard across the entire Civic Media Radio Network in 11 communities. All across the state. It is the largest privately owned network in Wisconsin in terms of broadcast radio, second only to Wisconsin Public Radio Network. More stations than iHeart. How about that? Largest privately owned radio network in Wisconsin, Civic Media. We're in all the major media markets. No better way to have your voice, your product, your company be heard than to advertise with us. Go to civicmedia.us. That's civicmedia.us. And find out how to advertise with us. Dave, listening to New Berlin, says, Todd, I saw the forecast for Monday. I'm going to be quote-unquote sick that day and need to spend all day at the park. Please don't read this on the air. Sorry. No, he didn't say that.
He did say everything up until, please don't read this on the air.
I think we all might have a little cough on Monday, right? Right, Dave? All right, and speaking of the timely indeed, we were talking with Brady earlier about former Wisconsin Badger head football coach Brett Bielema. Vince Lombardi used to say, was famous for saying, if you're 15 minutes early, you're late. For a meeting, whatever you have in life, always be at least 15 minutes early. And Brady's saying that with Coach Bielema, former Coach Bielema here at Wisconsin, now at Illinois, that he would tell his players, we're going to start at 1 o'clock. You better be here at 12:55. But by the end of Brady's time, it'd go like 20 minutes early. Our own Casper, one of our great engineers listening and watching on YouTube, says, I'm not on board with that. Just tell me what time you want me there and I'll be there. Right?
I get starting, like if you tell everyone be here 15 minutes early and then you start 5 minutes early, sure. If you tell everyone be here 15 minutes early and you start 20 minutes early, screw you.
That's a little harsh. Anyway,
okay,
here we go.
Maybe that is a little harsh. But...
What's worse? People who are always early or people who are always late? People who are always early or people who are always late? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Could also text us on the Civic Media app. If you don't have it, download it today. You're going to want it. I mean, you want it now, but you're really going to want it soon. I am under strict orders, and Zommers tells me this, where we're not monkeying around here. I cannot tell you the exact details of it. But I am, I believe, allowed, the attorneys up on the 12th floor say I can tell you there is a new text-to-win contest that has been approved, signed, sealed, and is about to be delivered. And let me tell you, the grand prize on this one, whew, you're not going to want to sleep on it. Or maybe you will. Tune in soon for another text-to-win contest. But be prepared, because the only way you can enter and play is via text. So be ready. Go to your Apple or Android device. Type in Civic in the app search bar. Civic Media. Takes less than a minute. It's free. It's what Gail King at CBS calls a deal, the Civic Media app. Let's go to the phone lines, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Mark in Prairie du Sac. Mark, people who are always early or people who are always late? What's worse?
Well, people that are always late, but I just can't help but thinking of the old Elon Musk chip in our head thing. There was actually a science fiction story by Elie Modeste Jr. called Adiamanti, and there was humanity got kind of split into three different groups. Those that had a chip, those that had that actually kind of did a self-modified their own brain, and those who didn't want either one of them. But Elon Musk, he can try to put a chip in my head, but I will avoid that with prejudice. I mean that he can pucker up and.
All right, we get the picture, Mark. Thank you very much. Mark in the Sac, salty on a Friday. 855-752-4842. We'll get to the chip story in a minute. We're doing what's worse right now. Let's go up to our old friend Cindy up there who, this is a person, Cindy, she gets around. She's involved in the community. She's had drinks with Trigby and I and Reed on our What Makes Wisconsin Great tour. She was overseeing our own old friend Kristen with Adam Kinzinger, and we find her in the beautiful city of Appleton. Cindy, people who are always early or people who are always late, what's worse?
Well, first I want to respond. There was a movie about putting chips in people's head, and it did not end well.
It did not.
Anyway, I can't
Right,
remember the name of it, but it was something conspiracy. But I actually find that most people everywhere I go are early, and they seem like they're getting earlier. I suppose it's for getting parking spaces and whatnot, but I think people who get there late are so rude, inconsiderate. It's all about me. I mean, I'm a runner, and I used to do races where this one guy would come like perpetually. Every race 15 minutes late, and he would expect them to adjust his times and everything for him. Yes.
No, that's
like,
not, you can't do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Well, that's what he would do, and some of these race directors would actually accommodate him, and I'm like, give me a break. So anyway, he finally stopped coming, but he was always late, and he just expected people to just jump over hoops for him. So I think, to me, people who are late are just disrespectful, and it's all about me, 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 me. Everybody else waits for me. So.
All right, very good, Cindy. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you tuning in as always. What's worse, people who are always early or people who are always late? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Off the text line, Len, listening on WMDX in Madison, says people who are always late are worse. Meredith in Madison says, I'm always late except for work. So I guess the folks are always early are the worst. All right. Dave in New Berlin, listening in, says people who are always late are worse. Terry in beautiful Cross Plains, listening on WMDX, says, I tend to run slightly late. So I have to say that people who are early are the worst. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go to Brian down in beautiful Milwaukee, listening on WAUK. Brian, people who are always early or people who are always late? What's worse?
Late. We had, unfortunately, in my family, our uncle, Steve, was always late for family Christmas and Easter parties or any, family function. And before we knew it, the running joke in the family was he's late for everything except his funeral.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. It's sad because he did pass away, but
was he late for his own funeral?
No, he was on time for that.
Okay. Because see, I'm gonna tell a little story myself. I'll get into it more on the other side of the break. I do tend to be late often. And so I've told people that I'm gonna put in my will when I die that I want the funeral director to put the funeral's gonna start at 11 o'clock, but don't start it until 11:15. That way people can say Todd was late to his own funeral. Appreciate it. Come on back. More after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Judge Brad Schimmel is an anti-choice politician whose positions are too extreme for Wisconsin women. He supports a
We're all going to scare you with every ad that we make.
But don't take our word
What'd
for
you say?
it. Hear it in
This
his
is
own
ad.
words.
We're going to scare you with every ad we make.
Which,
Todd and parking meters. Name a better duo. That'd be tough, Cam. That'd be tough.
Exceptions for rape or incest.
Which squad about that one?
The 1849 law criminalizes doctors and their patients.
Which squad about that one?
Brad Schimmel supports an 1849 law to ban abortion with no exceptions. Tell Brad Schimmel, extreme politics don't belong on Wisconsin's Supreme Court. Call
I'm also, you're never going to believe this. No one's going to believe this. Also late for everything. I blame my mom.
You blame your mom?
For a lot of it. Yeah, she would always make our family run late for everything, and it got to the point where
Make you run late?
Yeah,
Like on purpose?
No.
Oh,
No.
Oh, just
It was
like
never on
she
purpose.
held you up.
She always held us up. Sometimes by like an hour or
Oh,
so.
wow.
And so
That's-
we'd show up to extended family things like 2 hours late, and everybody else would do bets like, what's the over-under on when the Zommers family gets there?
Oh my god! Now that I'm not quite that bad.
Me either.
Anywhere from 5 to 15. Usually, 10 to 15 is a pretty good.
Yeah.
Bravo.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible.
Oh, Dinah, it's just a rabbit with a waistcoat and a watch.
Oh, my dear and whiskies! I'm late!
Now, this is curious. What could a rabbit possibly be late for? Please, sir!
I'm late for a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, along with a white rabbit and Aaron Sommers on the board. Todd Allbaugh here on the Civic Media Radio Network. 21 past the hour of 1 o'clock on a TGIF edition, Friday, March 7th. We are right in the middle of what's worse for today. What's worse, people who are always early or people who are always late? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Also text us on the Civic Media app. Dana, listening to us on WLCX in beautiful La Crosse, says, I'm always early. And a lot of people also think I'm worse. I don't if they're related.
Or I don't know if those are related.
I don't know if those are. Oh, I got it. Cam and Appleton. Now, this is just egregious picking on Todd. It says, Todd and parking meters. Name a better duo. That has nothing to do with, I guess it kind of relates because I was late to plug the parking meter.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
want to go down that road again, but that was not entirely my fault. Zommers, do you want to go on there? What's worse, being people who are always early or people who are always late?
That's so. I am a person who is always late. Shocker. Todd and I share this in common. One of the unfortunate things that we have in common. And I've gotten a lot better with it. What's it? What is this?
Just go.
Okay.
Go.
And I have to say, if you are a normal amount of time early or late, I don't care because I don't have a right to be upset with somebody because I'm always late. But if it's really early or really late, I'm going to say a person who's late is worse. Even though I'm laughing because and here, I mean, you can't buy love like this. You can't buy support like this. My mom and my sister apparently are listening and are texting me like on me. My mom says, well, this is a text from my mother. She says, your show is to tell the truth. Oh.
My sister says, now, dear brother, are we being honest here with 3 question marks? Because I assume they're watching via the stream. And I said, Zommer and I are talking over the break, and you can watch us on the stream and find out what I'm really like, which is not dramatically different than what I'm like on the air. I said, I tend to run somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes late, closer to 15. I think what my family is talking about is like, if I'm going to go to a family event, I have to drive an hour plus away. Oftentimes I'll have to wrap up stuff here, and then I could be more than that. I could, an hour late, or whatever, but that's like a long, I'm talking about things like, hey, we're going to meet somebody in town for dinner, or all right, keep me honest. Anybody listening on Civic, I've never been late to a show. I've never shown up late, and now there have been a couple of close calls, but no, I've never shown up late to a show.
There was one, but you also knew ahead of time. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not here.
I had a conflict. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Right.
you were like, you began the show on the phone in the parking garage. Like,
Oh, I forgot about that one.
there
yeah.
was the
I had
one.
like a
There's
doctor's
one.
appointment or
Yeah,
something
exactly.
like that. Yeah.
There was good reason for it.
Right. Generally speaking, I don't think I'm late to like company meetings, am I?
I don't think so.
Sometimes I just forget about
That is true.
because they change. And I'm like, well, I didn't know we having it this week. I just don't know. But I'm not late to like. So I'm talking about just like, oh, we're gonna meet for dinner or whatever. I've tried to do better. Now here's there's a serious part to this. I don't want to get into it and bring people down. I'm ADHD. Our friend Kara Sabin, who we have to get back in the program, by the way.
Yes.
She's ADHD, and so people
me too.
ADHD. Our minds think nothing is an emergency until it is. There's only two times.
Seriously.
There's only two times that matter. Now and everything else. And if it's not now, then it doesn't matter.
And I try so hard to break free of that, but I just can't.
I try, and I think I've done a little bit better.
I've improved.
We'll see how many texts I get after I said that. But no, I tend to run late. I'm not walking away from it. I'm not denying it. And guess what? I'm not blaming it on anybody but me. I will take full responsibility for my tardiness, and I'll answer the question. People like me are worse. I'm worse.
I'm also worse.
I'm the sphincter. People who are late are worse because it can set everybody back and it throws off the schedule. So I will say I am worse. There. How's that for truth, honesty, and the American way? Casper chiming back in from the engineering room on YouTube. People who are always late is much, much worse. My daughter, God love her, is always late. And I literally have to tell her at least an hour and a half earlier than what the actual time is. Now, that's what mom does. She'll say, well, I think we're going to start around 1 o'clock. And then I'll get there like 20 minutes after. Well, it doesn't actually start until 2.
See, the problem is if you do that too often, then people like us will start being like, oh, they're just telling us an hour earlier.
Right, exactly.
And then we'll actually be late.
I know. But by golly, each and every day we get this show on the road at noon. Come hell or high water. and I don't think I've ever. We can ask Phil Nee up at Richland Center, who worked with me back in high school. There were a couple of times in high school where, because CBS News, at the time, CBS News lasted until 5 after the hour. And then there was a minute of commercial. And so you would go on the air locally at 6 past the hour. There were a couple of times when I cruised into RCO at 5:05.
I've done that.
I had 45 seconds to get back to the control room, open up the mic, and give the weather.
Yeah,
I cut
I've
it
done that.
remarkably close. Well, and I wasn't late. The only time I ever did not be on the air for a shift is when I was signing on back at RCO, back in high school or college, signing on at 5 a.m. And I went out because at the time you had to go outside. There was like a weather house that had the barometer and the thermometer outside, and you had to go outside to check the temperature. And I forgot to unlock the door to go out the back door, and my keys were in the station, and it was winter. And so it was like whatever it was, like 4:45, 4:10 or 4:40, whatever. I locked myself out. I had to walk back home, and we lived, I ran part of the way. I got to our house, I think, in about 10 minutes. And then I had to get in my car, or I had to call my station manager, Ron Fruit, and he had to come down and open up the station. We signed on at like 10 after 5. But that was just stupidity for leaving my keys in the station. What's worse? People who are always early, people who are always late. Still time to call in. Also, board game of the week straight ahead, and Scott Klug's Political Orphan, his take on the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media. Come on back.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Enjoying this local program?
Boy, the
Find
family
complete
just
Civic
pouncing
Media
on
lineup
that.
at
Keeping me
civicmedia.us.
Oh, I know
or
if
the
my
Civic
family was
Media
listening, they
app.
would be too. Although, like I said, we literally
For
show up to my
92.7
grandparents' house,
WMDX News, I'm
and
Savannah Tomei
my
Olsen.
cousin Ryan would
A
be like,
majority of
"Damn it!
Wisconsin
I thought they were
voters
going to be
don't know
another half
much
an hour
about the
late."
candidates
All right,
in
Alex,
the
here's your money.
upcoming statewide races. That's according to new Marquette Law School polling.
Not
data.
hiding it from
On
us.
April 1st, voters will choose the next justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and that will determine the court's balance. Right now, it has a 4-3 liberal majority, and it's a liberal justice who's retiring. More than half of registered voters didn't have an opinion.
Actually,
on
my
the
mom
Liberal
being late
candidate
for everything
Susan
is the
Crawford.
reason why I got
In
a
the
cell phone.
conservative running, Brad
Really?
Schimmel has the highest
Because
name recognition.
I'd be dropped
but
off for
still,
stuff. Like I
nearly
used to take
40%
dance
of
lessons when
voters
I was
said they
little.
didn't
No,
have
I
an
don't
opinion
remember
of
any of
him
it.
either.
My body
The
would
other
not
big race
do
on
those things
everybody's
anymore.
ballot
But
is for state superintendent to lead the Department
and
of
I'd be
Public
like,
Instruction.
"All right,
Close to
it's been
two-thirds
over
of
for half
voters
an
don't have
hour,
opinion
and I
of
have no
current
idea where my mom
Superintendent
is.
Joe Underly, whose support
What's going
mostly
on
comes
here?"
from Democrats. Meanwhile, more than 70% of voters
Oh,
don't have an
Lordy.
opinion of her right-leaning challenger.
All right,
Brittany
we'll do
Kinzer.
this.
Now we're about 3.5 weeks out. Poll director Charles Franklin
Elon
says
Musk
people
wants
do
to
have
put a
some
chip
time.
in your head story next.
Oh, by the way, so you know the self-cuddling promo?
Oh, yeah.
Here's the
All right,
sequel
all right, very
that
good.
I put together yesterday.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Tom from Monona. I love this one. He says, "This is Tom. I like to rub my feet together and drink milk out of the cow." Listen, we'd all spoon ourselves if we could, just for some affection. But rubbing your feet together, as I mentioned last week, is the closest thing to self-cuddling. It's just a relaxing, and Tom wants to do that, apparently laying under the udder of a cow. That is the idea of a chill evening on Fat Tuesday.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
That's
Weeknights
good.
from
That's
6
good.
till 8
There's a theme
on your
here. I
local
like it.
Civic Media Radio.
Nightlight's had a couple of those good sequel ones
Yeah.
where we did the Netflix thing and then he talked about it.
The
That's
city
great.
requires smoke detectors whose batteries should last for about 10 years. And then after that 10 years, the entire device should be replaced. I'm Savannah Tomei Olsen. You're listening to 92.7 WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Peaky Blinders fans who are looking for closure from the upcoming Peaky Blinders movie will not get it. Franchise creator Stephen Knight says Peaky Blinders will continue after the movie has been released, but was not specific as to whether it would be TV or film. In the upcoming movie, the Peaky Blinders gang does battle with Nazis. Netflix has not yet given a release date for the Peaky Blinders movie. Typically, when someone writes a movie, they are looking for creative and ideally financial gain. Rarely does citizenship come into play as a reward, but it did for Jesse Eisenberg, the writer of the movie A Real Pain. The Polish government granted Jesse citizenship for writing the film set in Poland, for which he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Screenplay. Nice to have a place to weekend. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
Spotty light snow this afternoon only lays down a trace. But we're stuck with mostly cloudy skies and cooler temperatures today, flirting with the freezing mark. As the system passes and skies clear tonight, lows will fall to near 20. And tomorrow, plenty of sunshine on tap and warmer, with highs in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. It's 33 at our studios.
Tons of glass artists share the same passion for eye-catching art as Ignite Glass and Gifts, so we're showcasing their work alongside our talented local artists and our in-house Ignite artists. The latest techniques, the hottest colors, and mind-blowing designs are here for you to enjoy. Madison's favorite for glass, gifts, and vape, Ignite Glass and Gifts. Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and O'Dana Road, plus IgniteGlassandGifts.com. Do your eyes a favor and see this stuff.
The Verlo Mismatch Sale is back. It's our biggest sale of the year. Mismatch on the outside, the same Verlo long-lasting craftsmanship on the inside, and it's backed by our lifetime comfort guarantee. So hurry in now for additional savings on every mattress and box spring. Plus, get huge savings on adjustable bases. And the more you buy...
4 minutes past the hour, 1 o'clock, Friday, March 7th, 2025. Ominous music. Sommers, what did you dial up there?
It's the theme from Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Very ominous indeed. We're going to get to that in a minute. Elon Musk. Every time I say it, I think of Joe Biden. We're not joking around. Elon Musk wants to put a chip in your head.
After yesterday's SpaceX explosion, and the one before that, and the one before that, no thank you.
Let's finish up what's worse, asking you the important question. What's worse, people who are always early or people who are always late? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Ollie checking in from the beautiful North Woods of the great state of Wisconsin. Ollie, what's worse, people who are always early or people who are always late?
I'll make this quick since a little long. Apparently being late is bad, and my dad told me so because I used to head off with my family to visit him in a 5-hour probably or so drive, and it would take me till midnight to get there because I had to stop at all the garage sales along the way. And my husband always said I'd be late for my own funeral, so I've decided to have my coffin brought in late because he always has to be right about everything else. And I'll tell my dad, and I'll leave a little note, and no, Dad, I didn't stop for a garage sale.
That's great. That's great, Ollie. I'm right there with you. I love it. Have a great day. Have a great weekend up there in the North Woods. Enjoy it up there. Thank you so very much. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to tell the funeral director to wheel my coffin into the church or wherever 15 minutes past the start time.
I might do the same thing.
For those listening on the network, we heard the great Pete Schwaba of Nightlight was honored to be on the program last night with the popcorn pick of the week. Now, there's a great show, 6 o'clock until 8 every evening. You got Pete Schwaba. Now, here's a guy who is a writer, a director, a producer, an actor, a host,
comedian.
He's done it all in entertainment. And we're so happy he's part of Civic Media's team every evening, along with great producer Conrad. So I did the popcorn pick of the night. And my pick last night was the great movie from 1995 called Steal Big, Steal Little. Steal Big, Steal Little by Andy Garcia. There it is. I have the DVD. Yes, I own DVDs. I own Blu-rays, and I am not ashamed. In fact, I am proud. Because you know what will not happen to Todd? I will not go to try to watch a movie and say, oh, that's not available on that streaming service anymore.
For example, Steal Big, Steal Little, the movie in question, when Todd mentioned it as his popcorn pick of the week last night, I looked it up. It's not available for streaming.
Look at that. Look at that.
Todd was right about everything.
No, people who know me know that's not the case at all.
Todd was right about this.
About this. It's a great film if you can find it on DVD or Zombers. You said it's on VHS?
Yes, you can get the VHS actually cheaper than the DVD.
I bet you can.
The shipping's more expensive, but it works out to being about $9 for the VHS and like $25 or $30 for the DVD.
All right. It's a great little film. It's about Andy Garcia plays identical twin brothers. He obviously plays both parts. And one, after they're separated, their biological parents are captured by immigration and sent back to Mexico. And so they are kind of adopted, taken in by this American couple who ends up getting divorced when they're kids. One goes to live with his father, who is obsessed with money and business and power. And the other one goes to live with his mom, who runs an art studio. And not just a studio, but like a retreat. And it's how they kind of live their lives, and comedy ensues, and double identities, of course. I mean, you have Alan Arkin is in this movie. David Ogden Stiers from MASH is in the movie. So you ever get a chance, Steal Big, Steal Little. It was great. Yes, I put on a tutu because David Ogden Stiers in the film, they have this retreat where they're kind of the conservative Republican-esque men have a secret retreat where they all, not all, but many dress up in drag and get drunk, not unlike a party at Lindsey Graham's house in South Carolina.
So I've heard.
But anyway. And so I dressed up as one of the characters. I went down to Monroe last night, and my friend's curtain floor, she let me do it in front of their fireplace.
I recommend looking up the YouTube stream of Nightlight last night and checking it out. Todd sitting there in front of a fireplace in a like softly lit room, holding a cigar, a Swisher Sweet in one hand, got a glass of alcohol, a bottle of Maker's Mark facing the camera, and he's wearing a white cowboy hat, just sitting in a tutu.
I'm committed to the bit. You understand? I'm in entertainment. I love committing to these bits. And that's the fun about Pete Schwaba's show is that it's informative, but it's just a heck of a lot of fun. So tune in every night from 6 until 8 right here, Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network. I wish this were fiction. It is not. Elon Musk's Neuralink company will put chips inside humans' heads. The chips will read thoughts, desires, and needs directly from our brain. It will funnel that input through Musk's artificial intelligence company named, get this, XAI. It would then use Musk's X, better known as Twitter, to obtain information or services for the chip carrier. Yes. As you'll recall, Musk has already partnered with Visa to create a payment service. The first step to make X an everything app, eventually providing any service found on the web. Do you feel Homer paraphrasing, or do you feel like paraphrasing Homer Simpson and saying, I, for one, welcome Elon Musk as my new digital overlord?
I do not, no.
Or do you feel like you need Elon's chip like another hole in the head? Musk, however, expects that fear of losing out in an age where information equals power will overcome any resistance you or I may have to being chipped.
No. That's it. Just no.
There it is. I mean, you knew this was coming at some point.
I knew it was coming, and I knew it was going to be coming from Elon, too. Right. And even if it wasn't him, I don't want any chips in my head.
No. Could not. I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole or any length pole. I mean, I suppose some people would do this, but putting a chip in your head so that the X and what if it gets hacked? Now your brain's been hacked.
You mean what happens when it gets hacked?
Right.
Because that'll be so valuable. People will hack it.
Right. If you can't hack it, 855. What do you think? Would you take a chip from Elon Musk in the head? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Holly's calling back in the North Woods. Holly, what do you think of this chip deal with Musk?
Well, personally, I think he can save his chip because there are millions of people ready and willing right now to tell him what they think of him.
Right? He don't need a chip. We'll just tell him for free.
No. Definitely not.
Love it, Ollie. Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's a little scary. But and here's the problem. We're going to cross-pollinate. Mark my words. We're going to cross-pollinate with the Musk chip in a human's head with the robot dog.
This is going to be.
And then we're going to
the Terminator.
We're going to have all kinds of problems. As Letterman likes to say, I wouldn't give those kind of problems to a monkey on a rock. All right, 43 minutes past the hour, 1 o'clock. Time once again for another Zombers rendition of Board Game of the Week. Here we go.
Welcome back for another Board Game of the Week, a segment we haven't done since January.
It's been a busy month, you understand?
Yes, there's been a lot going on.
The occasional segment whenever we need it.
But we've got it today. Today's board game has a little bit of backstory to it that you'll need. It's called Katmai, the Bears of Brooks River. And
all right.
And so
say this again.
Katmai, Katmai, the Bears of Brooks River. So,
do we need an interpreter for this game?
We do not.
All right, go ahead.
It is in English.
Right. Okay.
The name is just not, because it's named after Katmai National Park in Alaska.
Oh, all right.
Where every summer, bears flock there like crazy and sit along the river and eat salmon. And they get so fat and lazy, and they just sit there and let the salmon jump into their mouths. And it's live streamed, so you can watch it.
Wow.
And it is so fun to watch and just sit there and be like, they're just looking down in the stream. And a salmon will flop up, and it'll be about an inch from their mouth, but they just won't move. And they'll be like, oh, the next one will go in. And then it does. And
they just sit there and get fed by nature.
Yeah. They just sit there and eat salmon all day.
Can you imagine?
It sounds great.
It sounds great.
And yeah, they're fattening themselves up for hibernation. And every October, they put Fat Bear Week on their website, which is a popularity contest where people vote for their favorite fat bears. Yep. See, Kimber and Muscadet knew where that was going. Fat Bear Week. And I actually
Kimber knows exactly where this is going.
For those of you watching on the stream, I have a couple of recent Fat Bear contestants to show you, before and after pictures.
Look at that. Now that looks me like before the election and me after the election.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to Grazer here. For those of you who can't see it, it's a skinny bear, a bunch of saggy skin, just sitting in the water, to an absolute chunk, just huge. Speaking of chunk, the next bear is named Chunk.
Look at that.
That is one big bear. And also 747 is the name of another one. Two of my favorites are Holly and Otis.
Look at Holly.
Holly looks like a bouncy ball, just completely round.
I mean, that is some layers of fat to take you into a tough winter.
So yes, those very fat bears, and I recommend everyone check out Fat Bear Contest. Anyway, back to the game.
All right. Yeah.
So this game is based on the contest. You have a river, and you get cards for bears and little wooden meeples of bears, little wooden bears, and you place them along the river and try and scare the other bears out of the best spots so you can eat the most salmon before hibernation.
Now, I think this would be highly entertaining.
I think it would.
Have you played it?
I have not, because it's new. It just came out. I haven't ordered it yet.
Oh, it's brand new.
Yes, but it's available for purchasing at Osprey Publishing.
Oh,
yeah. If you, I'll link it in the description. But if you're interested in giving it a shot, it's $35. It is 2 players, and it takes about 30 minutes
until you get full.
Until you get full.
Okay. Now, does this require anybody to eat sushi during the game?
You can.
All right.
I don't think it's mentioned in the rules. You can eat sushi anytime if you want.
No, thanks. Unless it's a tempura shrimp.
And yes, Kimber and Muscadet also says, doesn't it go for a month? I think so. Yeah, it's a whole month, but the main tournament is just Fat Bear Week, I believe.
All right. Very good. How much? Name of the game, please, again, and the cost.
Katmai, the Bears of Brooks River, and it is $35. That's the board game of the week.
Katmai. I like that name. Katmai. What's the second part of it?
The Bears of Brooks River.
The Bears of Brooks River. Katmai, the Bears of Brooks River board game. Now, that sounds fantastic, and it sounds like a game that would be even better played along a river in Alaska.
And if you can't do that, you can always just pull up the stream of the bears and put it on your TV.
Like on a 70-inch screen, just sitting there, it'll feel like you're right there with the bears.
Now watch that in a theater.
Yes, exactly. Go to a theater and enjoy that very soon. Well, that's fantastic. I appreciate it because it's going to be some parts of Wisconsin very warm. You might want to sit on a 3-season porch or whatever, or inside. Just enjoy that. Can you order it on Amazon?
Not Amazon. It's just on Osprey, like the bird, publishing at the moment.
Right. And they'll get it to you quickly, and you can play it. It'll be fantastic. All right, Mr. Zomers, we appreciate that. Tyler in Wisconsin Rapids checking in on that Musk story. The only side effect to the Musk chip in the head is the unruly flyaway comb-over. Yes, that too. Come on back. Scott Klug is in with a political orphan take on politics. Don't want to miss it. And we'll wrap things up for a Friday on the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Katmai. I like that name.
Great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
March is tournament time, and the Lazy Oaf Lounge has your courtside seats. Enjoy the big games on the big screens at the Lazy Oaf Lounge. Score big with half-price wings during the tournament games when you dine in. Plus drink specials of Busch Light, Miller, and Bud products. And make a slam dunk with $2 off pitchers during the game. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road in Madison. Follow the Lazy Oaf Lounge.
Thank you, Kimber. We appreciate you. Have a great weekend up there in beautiful Muscadet.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. In a brief to the North Carolina Court of Appeals, a bipartisan group of former county election directors urged the court to reject a claim that as many as 65,000 voters were ineligible last November. And a former state Supreme Court justice is arguing in another appeals case that gerrymandering by the state legislature is akin to stuffing the ballot box. We followed the claims from state Supreme Court candidate Jefferson Griffin that as many as 65,000 registered eligible voters had incomplete registrations in a race he lost by 734 votes to incumbent Justice Allison Riggs. The race is the only unresolved election in the country. In late February, a bipartisan group of 42 former county election directors filed a brief outlining why the voters should be considered valid and concluding the citizens of North Carolina who obey the laws and the direction of the elections administrators should not have their votes discarded. In another North Carolina case, former state Supreme Court Justice Bob Orr is arguing in state appeals court that the legislature's gerrymandered voting districts manipulate election outcomes. By packing voters by party into a district, he argues, it violates the state constitution's guarantee of free elections with a fair count.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is now 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock. On the top of the hour, ABC or CBS Radio News, depending upon which of our great stations you're listening to across Wisconsin. Then a little check of weather, sports with our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens. And then another edition of the Maggie Dawn Show every afternoon from 2 until 4. Maggie Dawn, followed by Dom Salvia from 4 until 6. And then our friend Pete Schwaba and Nightlight every evening from 6 until 8. Rick Smith Across America, and rounding out the evening with Native Roots Radio with Robert Pilot. Always a fantastic show as well. So I hope you tune in all across the Civic Media Radio Network today and tonight. Here's a new feature for you. I want to start doing this. One of my former bosses, former U.S. Congressman Scott Klug, represented the Madison area, the 2nd Congressional District of Wisconsin, for 8 years. In the 2nd district there in the House of Representatives. Here's a guy, Klug, who when he ran, he said, I'll limit myself to no more than 12 years in office. And he kept his word in 8. And after 8 years, he said, you know what? It was never meant to be a career. And I went and served, and now I'm going back into the private sector, which he did. And then last year, he said, because he started his career as a broadcaster in television, was on Channel 27 in Madison for a number of years, was at TV stations in Seattle and Washington, D.C. And so he talked with our owner, CEO Sage Weil, and we said, why don't we do this a limited run podcast radio show called Lost in the Middle, America's Political Orphans, because Klug, longtime Republican, but a moderate Republican, which really doesn't exist anymore. He doesn't identify himself with the Democratic Party, so he feels like he's an independent, a lost in the middle, a political orphan. And we ran that until after the election, and that's wrapped up now. And so we thought, well, he still has something to say, so why don't we have him come back for a couple of minutes every Friday and share his thoughts. So here now, our first take on his take. This is Scott Klug's Political Orphan, his take. For those of us who sometimes feel lost in the middle, time for our weekly commentary from political orphan, former Congressman Scott Klug.
Hey, good news from last fall's election. No matter which side you're on, record turnout of 73% in Wisconsin and not a whiff of scandal. But we need to change one major election law that creates potential ammunition for conspiracy whack jobs. In every presidential election, we watch trucks deliver more than 100,000 absentee ballots to the Milwaukee Counting Center after the polls close. First, the ballots have to be verified, then opened, then tabulated, and it takes hours to report results. Frankly, it's embarrassing. We're only one of 13 states that will not allow ballots to be counted prior to polls closing. Look, Republican states like Florida and Texas, with far bigger populations, count absentee ballots before Election Day, and they deliver vote totals before the ballot trucks even hit the roads in Wisconsin. A second way to speed up the process, Minnesota doesn't start counting before Election Day, but they do verify the ballots in advance. So when Election Day hits, the count is expedited. Boom. We're only one of 7 states that won't allow that early step. We at the bipartisan Defend Democracy Project urge the Wisconsin legislature to change the law. My colleagues, former GOP AG J.B. Van Hollen, former state Democratic Chair Mike Tate, and former Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Mandela Barnes all urged the passage of this common sense reform. You know, this is a travesty given our reform heritage. More than 100 years ago, Wisconsin was the state that pushed for secret ballots and the direct election of senators to take the power away from party bosses. Today, sadly, we lag the rest of the country. Hey, Madison, fix it. And next time, we'll talk about one other twist in our election laws, which should be fixed before the red-hot Supreme Court race. That's my take. I'm political orphan Scott Klug.
Scott Klug, his take. I think it's a good one, by the way. Why is it that Wisconsin is so far behind now in how we count our votes? And again, we just had an audit with this in Wisconsin. This last election, 2024, found that there were no major problems once again. Wisconsin has one of the safest voting mechanisms already. And what we need is to be able to count these ballots, like Klug said. So hopefully the legislature gets its act in gear.
Hopefully.
And but Klug will be on every of those 2-minute segments every Friday now. So looking forward to that. Many thanks to Scott Klug. By the way, it's March 7th today. On this date in 2025, hey, that's today, Sommers, by the way. At 5 p.m. Central Time, the United States will see its first execution by firing squad in 15 years.
Wait, really?
In South Carolina, prisoner Brad Sigmund is to be strapped into a metal seat in the same chamber used for execution by electric chair and lethal injection. And by law, Sigmund had his choice of 3 forms of execution and chose firing squad. He'll have a hood over his head. A target will be placed on his heart. 3 volunteers will shoot from a distance of 15 feet. They will stand behind a wall with a small opening for their rifle. Used under the chair, that is, to which Sigmund will be strapped, is a catch basin. The bullets are fired are designed to break apart on impact so that fragments destroy as much of the heart as possible. Not to exaggerate, this is part of making America great again. As Professor William Nelson of Amherst College wrote, in 2020, the first Trump administration expanded how federal execution can be carried out to include ghoulish methods such as hanging, the electric chair, gas chambers, and indeed, the firing squad. Unquote. Not a great way to leave you all, but I think an important way. We continue on. The fight continues on. Have a better weekend than that. Zombers, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here as always. Thanks to Tim Corden of the Building Unity Wisconsin Tour. Brady Ewing from Badger Football, of course, former player. Scott Klug and all of you. Maggie Dawn is next. Whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, keep banging your drum. See you Monday. All right, everybody, sorry to leave you on that sad note, but I wanted to get that in.
Yeah, it's important.
Important. Not great, but important.
Also, I grabbed a sound effect that I forgot about because I was talking for the game today.
Why didn't we play that earlier?
I forgot.
Oh.
But I know you love goofy animal
Yes,
sounds.
I
as do
know. I know.
Anyway, goodbye, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.